Well, after reviewing every bowling game for the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, Nintendo 64, and Super Nintendo, it's time to check out another console off the list with 2 reviews today. That's right, there's only 2 bowling games for the Game Boy Color. One for the Game Boy itself as well. Anyways, let's go ahead and see if one of my first owned consoles has a chance of offering any good bowling games. Probably not though. To throw your ball, you press and hold the B button to fill your power gauge. Then you press and hold the D-pad in different directions to pick your speed and spin. The gauge will fill slowly at first, but once it hits those squares between the green and red parts of the bar, it speeds up. If it hits the red bar, it's a foul and you lose your turn. So you have to throw within the squares. It's pretty simple and works well enough, but it did take some time to get used to, alongside adjusting your speed and spin. To select speed, you press and hold the up and down button on the D-pad. To adjust your spin, you press and hold the left and right on the D-pad. That's all there is to the controls, which makes sense given this is the Game Boy Color and it didn't exactly have many inputs. For a Game Boy Color game, it's not that bad looking. I was surprised as the Game Boy itself had grotesque graphics even for its time. The original Game Boy was a fugly gray brick with putrid green graphics. That's one of the best things about the Game Boy Color, as it was treated as its own platform, but really it was just the Game Boy with color and barely anything else. At least it was smaller and had more variety of designs. I remember getting my first as a little kid. Probably was in primary school when I got it, can't remember. But it was the Game Boy Color Pokemon one with Pikachu and Pichu. Sadly I don't have it anymore as a 30-year-old man-child. Pathetic. One thing that sucked about this game was the lack of music. I mean, where is it? It's pretty empty. If there wasn't any other lanes, I put it on par with Simple Series Bowling for the PlayStation 1. That game was a lot of fun, and after playing several other bowling games on the console and PC, I'd rather play that one the most in comparison to the other stuff. That backrooms feeling you get from that game was neat. Feeling so isolated, surrounded by darkness with no music, just echoes of the sound effects as you bowl in the void. In this game, gives off. It's calming, yet eerie at the same time. You can't tell what you're supposed to feel.
I'm scared, I'm moving on.
But it is what it is, right? Just wish there was some Game Boy tunes playing of any kind. Even if it wasn't good, it's better to have something rather than nothing, right? Oh well, let's move on to the 2-player mode. There's only 2 options when it comes to gameplay. You can either bowl alone or with another player, but of course you must share your Game Boy Color to do so. Yes, you heard me right. Get ready to swap your console back and forth to play multiplayer. Not really a bad thing, mind you. I remember doing this with Age of Empires 2 on the Nintendo DS back in the day. One day I'll gladly review that game. Anyways, this mode is the same thing as single player, except you take turns bowling a frame. And that's it. I have nothing else to really talk about, though I do wish there was more than just one game mode. You can either play single player or multiplayer sharing the same Game Boy Color. There's a Rumble Pack feature for those that had that. I don't, and it wouldn't work anyways, given the only way you can play this game today without thousands of dollars to spare is emulation.
Sad but true.
I wish we had tournament mode or even AI opponents to play against, maybe even a basic character selection or creation tool, but whatever. I get the limitations of the 90s handheld, but still, you'd expect more from a newer console over the older ones. Maybe the Game Boy Advance has something to offer. I'll check out that one day too. At the end of the day, 10-pin bowling is a fine little portable bowling game. If it only had a few more modes, let alone features, it could have been an even better game. For what it is, I can recommend this mediocre game. Hopefully, the other bowling game called Pocket Bowling will have more to offer. Also, we can finally set up a playlist for the Game Boy Color. That's right, for the first time in a long time, we've started reviewing a new console platform instead of the same old same old. Anyways, that's it for this video. See you all later.